Homes raided, phones seized, allegations of voter suppression. That's what's going on in Texas as we speak. A Latino civil rights group calling for a federal investigation after its volunteers said they were targeted by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. The civil rights organization, LULAC, says officers broke down a door. They say an 80-year-old's medicine was taken. They say an 87-year-old's home was raided at 6 o'clock in the morning. She's quoted in the New York Times as saying, they searched everywhere. My underwear, my nightgown, everything. They went through everything. And a Democrat running for state House representative says her home was also raided. Cecilia Castellanos says, quote, this is all political. Here is the state director of LULAC speaking out today.
We're asking the Department of Justice to step in because justice and equality, that pathway to justice and equality in our community is at the ballot box. So if they think that they're going to stop our community from coming out, they've got another thing coming.
Now, no charges have been filed, but the Republican AG had previously said that his office conducted searches after a local prosecutor referred, quote, allegations of election fraud and vote harvesting, unquote, during the 2022 election to his office. And we've reached out to Paxton's office for comment, but have yet to hear back. Now I want to bring in Cecilia Castellano, along with Texas State Senator and Democrat Roland Gutierrez. Thank you both so much for being here. When I first read about this account, it was just shocking, to say the least. But Cecilia, can you tell us what happened when officers arrived at your home?
Yes, ma'am. It was about 6 in the morning on August 20th. As a strong Latina of faith and owner of a construction company, I could have never been prepared for what I experienced. Now, although I didn't experience in depth my actual home being raided, but Office of the Attorney General did come to my home that morning at 6 a.m., ringing my doorbell, knocking on my door. When I peeked out, there was flashlights flashing into my home, and they asked me if I was Cecilia Castellano, and I said, yes, I am. And they told me that that they needed to talk to me, and if I could open my door, I did. And I said, well, are you guys like the real Attorney General? Because I'm not sure why y'all are here. And they said, ma'am, can we come in? I said, well, can you please hold on so I could get my husband? When I went to go get my husband, they were already standing by my dinner table. And it was kind of disturbing to me because my son's door is just a few feet away where he was sleeping. My son did hear everything. And what gets me mad as a mother is that, number one, this came in on a school day. And number two, okay, I understand that they came to do their job, to take my phone, but I believe that it could have been done in a different manner if they were so concerned about what is on my phone. However, when I asked them what, if I could see the search warrant, what is it saying? Why are you here? They had no knowledge. They said they had nothing except to come and take my phone.
They had no paperwork, Cecilia?
I'm sorry?
They had no paperwork to show you or anything like that?
They provided a search warrant, a one-page search warrant, but there was no specifics on it. As far as why did they want my phone? And so that's what disturbed me. They did take my phone, which I use for business and personal. And I do have a campaign phone, which I do not carry with me. So it's not located here at my home. And so there was no specification. It just stated the phone that was located at my home address. And so I gave it to them. They thanked me for not giving them a hard time. And I said, well, I have nothing to hide. I mean, I'm not sure, again, why you're here. And they said, Ms. Castellano, I'm really sorry that I've had to meet you under these circumstances. You don't look like the type of person that should be going through this. And I hope to meet you again in a different circumstance. And they were here for about maybe 45 minutes. And they gave me a sheet of paper of my phone that they took, the identification of the phone. And they left. And thereafter, my husband and I sat down and talked, and I was shocked. I'm still shocked.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I'm more mad because my son was a few feet away. I'm mad because my son calls me at work asking me, Mama, is everything okay? Mama, what happened? And I couldn't talk much while I was at work. And a matter of fact, since that day, as I walk into my home, I feel no peace in my home.
Mm.
I can look towards my dinner table and see those men standing there. My son comes and lays with me every night and hugs me tight. That's how our nights have been before he
Oh, my
goes to sleep.
goodness.
He's 14 years old. I mean, seriously, what 14-year-old does that?
Yeah.
And today, as we were getting ready for the press conference, he made sure that dad was going to be there and that dad was going to be able to be there to protect mom. And I told him yesterday after church, I said, son, sometimes when we're led to do something for the right reasons and to fight for the right things, we got to go through the valley. We got to go through the storm.
Mm.
But this is why people like those before us, whether it's Martin Luther King, whether it's any other activists that have gone before us and have died for us, we have the rights we have today. But today and passed on August 20th was the day that they violated my home and they broke and took away my rights, my freedom in my own home.
Oh, my goodness. Senator Gutierrez, I'm going to bring you in. Just hearing Cecilia describe this, and as a mother, just hearing what it must have been like to try to explain this to her son, to relive this moment here today. What are these allegations by the Attorney General? Where are they coming from? This was not the only person whose home was entered in this way or things even taken. What is the basis?
No, it doesn't appear that there is any, Laura. I mean, the fact is that this guy, this attorney general, who has been indicted, as you know, in the state of Texas and on seemingly some kind of probation for securities fraud. This is the umpteenth time that he's done this. Every election cycle, he picks a race or two that is contentious, like Cecilia's, and goes out and makes these allegations. And here you have these allegations of vote harvesting, if you will. Three from an affidavit of an election 2 years ago. Still have the pieces of the affidavit that I've seen have no real specificity, which, as you know, in a criminal court doesn't really hold up. This man has gotten what he's tried to do, which is basically have a narrative for an election so that they can try and beat Cecilia in November. This is unfortunately what's happening. It would be comical if it weren't so tragic, because you had an 87-year-old great grandmother who seemingly the cops came into her house for a couple of hours at a time. She was in her bathrobe. They didn't allow her to change clothes. You had another 82-year-old woman and an 84-year-old woman. This is what's happening in my district, and this is the Republican narrative that they're trying to frame throughout the country. Sadly, it's not a narrative of positivity of how they're going to change things for the good in America, but rather it's a narrative that is simply stated to try and scare people and keep them away from voting in November. And that's in essence what they've done in the Latino community in South Texas here. It's voter suppression, it's voter intimidation, and the net effect is that less people will be voting because of it.
This was so important to hear what your experience has been. Cecilia Castellano, Senator Roland Gutierrez, thank you so much, both of you, for sharing what has happened. Truly unbelievable.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.